It's now 6 o'clock and we're going to call the regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. It's Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. And Chief, have you noted the roll?
I have member Bisbee is excused, and I believe member Reed will be logging in soon. All others are present.
Right, that brings us to approval of the minutes dated July 23rd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'll move. Second.
And any discussion or changes on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Appearances, do we have anybody online or in person to appear on an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Unfinished business, none. New business. A, discussion action on 2026 operating budgets for fire EMS. Chief McMullen.
There's Larry. Well, good evening, everybody. Decided spur of the moment to come up with something a little bit nicer for the operating budget, to give a little explanation on A, where we're at, and B, what we're requesting for next year. So I'll start with the fire department budget. First section there is where we're at right now. So this is as of the end of August. Oh, he's even posting it. Look at that. He's even sharing it. So technology does work in our favor sometimes. I'm on the next page. So this is just an overview of where we're at through current year. So this is through the end of August. Fire department, for those that aren't aware, are funded solely through tax levy. So it's a general fund side of our business. Is the total for this year is $858,000 is what we're budgeted. Currently, we're about 5.5% under budget for this time of year. Despite those nice yellow blocks that you see there, overtime is over. We were down 2 members for the first 2 months of the year, 2 full-time members, so we have no staff on overtime. But despite that, I'm open to entertaining questions if people have any questions on any of the numbers that you see here. The items that are in yellow, professional development is always going to be high depending on the time of year, because most of our conferences that we go to are front loaded in the year. They're almost all over the first half of the year. Uniform allowance is slightly over. We've already made our annual clothing order, so it came in unfortunately about 4% over what we budgeted for, which I considered a win considering how much prices have gone up for everything. Telephone, that huge looking number of 254% that we were billed for 2 Cradlepoint routers that we didn't think we were being billed for. We thought they were going to the IT budget. They were ordered and installed last year and showed up on our budget this year. So that's the hardware cost of the 2 routers. There's 1 in each ambulance. Equipment maintenance and repair. The fact that we're actually under budget at this point of time, considering how maintenance budgets have been in the last several years, I'm pretty happy with. We are going to be over, but not $30,000 or $40,000 over like we have been in years past. So, and then building maintenance and repair, that will likely change. We had a light switch repaired at the fire station, and somehow the bill was $1,400.
What? I would have done it for 5.
I believe that when it was billed out, there were other items that were done at City Hall, and it all came to a single invoice. And because the very first one said fire department switch, they put everything there. Mark is working on getting that sorted out. So that's okay. Even though it's a very small amount overall, I don't like seeing that in my budget. So, but overall, like I say, we're at 61.5% for the year. One of the nice things on overtime, the line right underneath it, event overtime, that's not just special events here. We are helping our bigger neighbors in Madison with their special events. The concerts at Camp Randall, we had staff that worked for Madison Fire under our name.
And we bill that.
Oh, yes. They pay a flat $60 an hour. So our staff get their overtime rate, their benefits. We actually make a little money off of that. That's the contracted rate. We have folks helping with the football games this year. So all that gets dumped back into that to help. So right now we're about 4,000 over on overtime, which I know all of you've been around a few years. That's a pretty light number compared to where we have been in years past. So I'm pretty happy overall. But I am more than happy to answer questions if anybody has any on our current budget.
Anyone have any questions for Chief? Anyone online?
Larry's here and
Larry? Any questions?
No questions?
All right.
But we'll flip back to appendix A, which is the actual request for next year's operating budget. I apologize, it seems like the PDF kind of got out of hand when I printed it anyway, it kind of went over the borders. The ambulance one printed fine, this one did not, I don't know, so technology has been a struggle today.
Am I?
It's gonna be several pages down, keep going. Appendix A, keep going, oh, keep going. And nope, now back up 2 pages. Keep going,
this one.
that one, yep. So the budget instructions we were given was, no more than a 3% increase on over last year's tax levy. So adding the 3% to what our previous one is, gave us about, once you take out increases in wages and benefits, which happen at the city level, and then we get what's left is about $7,800. There's yellow blocks, you can't really see them, but if you'd like to see, each one that's marked is reflected in the narrative behind it, what those increases are for. So it's a slight increase in professional development, increase in clothing, increase in physical examinations. So we do an annual physical for our folks, including our phase piece testing. They get an EKG, they get a hearing test, all that happens every year. Let's see here. Looks like supplies and equipment on the firefighter side, each got a small increase, and fire prevention. We do a lot of PR events, and when I started, that budget was $1,500 a year, which doesn't buy a lot of PR stuff. So we worked over the last few years to increase that up to something to allow for more stuff that we can hand out to the community. Total overall increase on that, including the wage increases, 2.97%. So again, if you have questions on those specific line items, it's in the narrative that's back behind there. Again, I understand this is the first read, so if anybody has questions, by all means, reach out. I'm happy to discuss anything in either of these budgets, but that would be the fire budget for 2026.
Any other questions on fire budget before we move on to EMS?
Just real quick, since if I'm understanding correctly, we generally are over maintenance and repair, but that's not increasing to 2026.
No, we had a failure of what, so the 35,000, so I'll tell you, when I started, the maintenance budget on the fire side was $10,000 a year. For 3 big trucks, all the small trucks, it was $10,000. Thanks to the wonderful citizens and the referendum, that was one of the big things that was increased to 35.
$10,000 doesn't sound reasonable.
I can tell you, comparably speaking, Deer Grove, which runs 4 vehicles, 3 ambulances and a car, has $120,000 a year for maintenance. So we do pretty good for the money that we have. It's when big ticket items have the response that I got from Mayor O'Connor when I started was, oh, big things happen. It doesn't matter if you budget for it. We don't budget for broken arms. So that's unfortunately what makes the budget go up, is when we are over what we have for an approved budget. This year, as an example, our aerial went in for its annual maintenance. 3 of the 4 waterway seals were torn, which they're original. They're 18 years old. And when you mess with those, you have to pull the whole ladder apart. You have to retension the cables and all that. Just that work being done with the annual stuff was a $13,000 bill. Engine 2, which just got back, would have been $18,000. It had a turbo inductor fail again. But since that was the 3rd one in 5 years, Reliant actually covered the entire cost of that, including the tow to get it where it needed to be to get fixed. So that cut that bill down to $10,000 for the annual maintenance. So again, we're going to be slightly over again this year, but overall, given where we have been, we're actually looking pretty good. Compensation wise, the POP program, which you'll see right under the wage line items, we're going to come in quite a bit underneath on that. I tried to be conservative when we set that program up this year. Doesn't help the chief Eckloff has been out for 6 months, which is a substantial cost savings on our POP line item. But overall, budget wise, we're looking to come in under budget. We'll just be over on the maintenance side due to these big items that we had. But unfortunately, with a $7,500 non-personnel increase, there's other things that cost of increase that we have to compensate for. I could dump all 7,500 against the maintenance budget, but then we'd be over next year on all these other line items. So I made a difficult decision to split it up and try and mitigate our maintenance other ways this year.
Any further questions before we move on to EMS?
I know we've always generally been in favor of increasing professional development, and I certainly am again, but can you speak at all to what your plans would be for that extra $1,000?
Yeah, so on the EMS or on the fire side, with the referendum, it's split into two pieces. So we have professional development, we have training. On the professional development side, we've got a lot of interest in attending some.
Mary Ann,
Hold on, Larry, mute yourself if you could, please.
On the fire side, we've got some interest in folks attending smoke diver school, which does cost, it's $250 a person, so that's where that would go. The training line item, which is right below that, for 5,000, actually buys training props. So if we need a forcible entry door prop, we've got a Denver extrication prop that allows people how to bail out of a window, that sort of thing. So that line item is used for props. So professional development is more fire-based trainings beyond the 2% classes that they have at MATC.
Any other questions? Seeing none.
Larry, Mike.
Larry, do you have a question?
I've got it way up.
I can talk louder, Larry, if that helps.
No, that's okay. I had tech support down here bailing me out.
Larry, did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So if you want to scroll back up, Brian, to the ambulance revenue. Next one. Yeah,
This one.
next one.
Next one.
So I threw this in here, it's not technically part of the budget, but I know I get a lot of questions on revenues, so I want to at least provide a overview on how we collect our revenues and what we do to fund the majority of the ambulance service. Tax levy on the ambulance side is about $250,000, which fires 800 and some, revenues make up the rest of that. So I even included a pretty graph. I know the alders have seen this before, it's in my monthly report generally. So our revenues this year were targeted at 565. We are well above our revenue targets for this year. Right now, as of today, we're at 79% for the year. That actually is quite a bit above what our target is. So any additional revenue we get beyond our target goes into our EMS fund balance. That can be used for capital purchases, that sort of thing, as we go down the road. Just this month, we're at 55,000. We still have 5 more days of collections. It's one of the websites that I haunt frequently. We have direct access to it. But to give you an idea of how much gets cut out of our revenues, that second half of the page, as of today, we bill out almost $1.2 million in gross charges. Federal government and insurance companies have contracted reductions. Those reductions total $636,000 out of that. So our actual net billing charges are $536,000. But of that, we were collecting in the low 80s, which given nationwide averages, which run about 60%, we're doing pretty good. We're actually even higher on the gross charge collection. Most agencies run about 30% nationwide. That's the given average. We're at 37, almost 38%. But at the bottom, you can see that's end of year that's where we're expecting to be if we continue collecting at the same clip we have for the first 8 months of the year. And that's what drives my revenues for next year, is I can forecast, okay, we're already where we need to be for next year at this time. So this does not include, we have additional funding streams, GEMT funding, which we looked for last year, but the state, it was held up at the federal level. Has gone through, we did fiscal year 23 and 24, those have been submitted, they've gone through desk review, we're waiting for the final allocation. That's gonna add about 37,000 to our revenues this year, one payout in September and one in November. To catch us up, and then going forward, it'll be one payment a year. And that is strictly on Medicaid transports that are not covered under an HMO or managed care program. So that for 2023 and 24, it's between 45 and 50 calls. And we get about $18,000 out of that. So that's not added in there, but that will go again directly into fund balance. My goal, which I'll speak freely about, is to be able to cover the next ambulance out of fund balance. That's the goal, because I know capital budgets are tight. We have many big projects coming. We have many big projects every year, so the goal is to remount our next ambulance out of fund balance. Any questions on revenue? I say there's always there seems to be a constant question again on revenues. We will not be looking to raise ambulance bills, the gross charges for next year. Where they're at, we're sitting pretty good, equity wise, when you look at other agencies. We're nowhere near the highest, not near the
We
lowest.
raised it a significant amount last year, didn't we?
Over the last 4 years, we brought it up into the middle of the range, and
Yeah.
I'm comfortable.
So
with that.
I think the committee voted to increase it a little more last year too. So,
Yeah, and it's, again, United, our average reimbursement is $700 a call.
Mhm.
Our cost per call is a little over 1,000. When you factor in capital expenses and all the others, I had to figure that out for the GEMT funding, what our actual cost per call is. So, we're actually in far better shape reimbursement wise than a lot of agencies that run $300 or $400 per call in reimbursement rates. So, again, this is something I'm happy to bore anybody with in far more detail. I just thought I'd throw it out there before we got to the annual, so you have some idea where the revenue comes from, as opposed to just putting a number on it. Ambulance operating budget, again, this is where we're at for the year, we're about 2.5% under budget. Again, with the same, almost the same yellow boxes that we have on the fire side, again, overtime is in the same boat as the fire side. The yellow box for life and disability insurance, I have no control over that, the city just tells me how much it costs this year it happened to be higher than what was budgeted. Next year is actually gonna go up to 200, I think. Again, professional development, uniform allowance, the telephone line item. And our service contracts, line 240, that's how much we pay EMSMC to do our collections for us. So if we make more revenue, they get paid more. You'll see in the proposal for next year, that line item actually goes up by almost $10,000, just based on what we're collecting this year. Happy to answer any questions on our current year budget.
any questions? No, this is first read, right? So-
Yeah.
All right, you good with that packet? Everyone?
If you wanna switch down to appendix B, which is the next. The last thing I'll talk about, there we go. There we go. Again, just like with the fire budget, you can see how it's laid out. This one is a bit different. And a little oddity here, so, the line items that I'm looking to increase, you'll see are substantially more than $7,400 or $7,800. My levy increase of 3% over 249, gives me that $7,400 in increase. You'll notice what I have on that right-hand side is, again, considerably more than that. We're forecasting, we'll raise our revenues by $50,000, which accounts for the lion's share of what's on that side. line items that are increasing would be the uniform allowance, physical exams, telephone. Medical director, that's a standard increase, it's a 2% increase every year on the contract. EMS supplies, because those continue to get more expensive. Dues and subscriptions, that's the standard increases in our software packages that we use. EMS equipment, same as on the fire equipment side, everything costs more, unfortunately. Give you an idea, like Zoll monitor batteries, when I took over here, were $380 a battery, they're $900 a battery now. For the exact same battery. They keep saying they're adding value, I'm not sure where, because it's the exact same battery, but it's now $900. And then the $10,000 increase for service contracts, which again is our collection agency that does all of our billing. That number of 42 is based on what we're collecting this year. So every year that gets adjusted for the previous year. There's an odd one out next to special event overtime, which is $6,700. Been talking for as long as I've been here, before I've been here, about being able to afford a career ladder for our staff. Right now we have, out of our 9 full-time staff, there's 1 that's actually qualified to move to the next level. This would cover that. I set it out separately because I don't know how it would divide out among wages and benefits. That'll be the Mark deal on how to do that. But that's that odd number off to the side, is being able to fund a career ladder for our staff. That is the number 1 reason that our folks leave, our full-time staff, there's just nowhere for them to go. And as Ryan can also attest, really busy, and again, after 10 or 12 or 15 years of running on the ambulance and getting hammered with call, they want to have something to work towards. So this is the end result of, I would say, 6 years of work, because Dan started this work before I was hired. So finally have the way to pay for it. And we'll see where it goes. Right now, it's just off on the side because I don't know how it divides out among wages and benefits. So, and that's a bigger discussion to be had, but that's what that number is for.
Okay.
Excuse me. Other than that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Seeing no questions. Moving on to you, Chief Danny.
Sir, let me, a second, pull up. Make sure here, please. Green. Okay, for the law enforcement side, coming up here in a minute. You do not have that in your packet because I did not print that out for you. So bear with me. And if you need me to zoom in on anything, please let me know. It was emailed to you all and it's in the agenda. Again, as the chief mentioned, our cost, we were ordered sort of cost to continue at 3% for our overall budget. That left us some wiggle room and things that we absolutely need. Of course, you will hear me say I need probably every year unless we get a significant increase. We are balancing our needs with the costs to continue in terms of service costs are increasing, obviously with what's going on the national level with tariffs and the costs associated with that. We've had to do some maneuvering on where that 3% is gonna go. So here's what we did. So if you look at you have the, yeah, I know I have the cursor. Slow cursor. Everything from professional development down, we can start with a discussion. The professional development is a separate line item that has always been there that will remain the same because post referendum, we were granted specific training funding, $15,000. We used to combine the two where training came out of that professional development line item, which also included costs to train new officers, get them certified, any other professional development needs to keep officers certified. That's required, which is 24 hours a year, if you recall. The state requires 24 hours of continuous education a year to remain certified. And there's certain there's certain coursework that the state requires you to take. Every year, you do have your host of electives, but biannually you have to do a emergency vehicle and operations course. So it's in essence learning and keeping your skills up on how to operate vehicles, firearms qualifications. There's defense and arrest tactics that the state encourages that we do, et cetera. So instead of having to pull all of that from one line item, the $15,000 that was given, we used to have zero in training. We used to have to rely all on that professional development. Now we have both sort of to pull from, and that's been very, very helpful. So those two items are going to stay the same. What's in between there is a uniform allowance. A lot of that has to do with the significant, I'll call, increase in the cost for things like bulletproof vests, for weaponry, for uniforms. The shirt I'm wearing is $90 for a button-up shirt, uniform shirt. Pair of pants is $95 to $100.
Do they have magical properties?
No magical problems.
They should for those prices.
And if they did, they would compel people to stop when we lawfully order them to stop. No properties, but it's expensive. And what comes out of that too is anytime we hire a new officer, we have to equip them with standard issue uniform, which is 2 or 3 of everything, if you think about that, right? So multiply the dollar amounts. And as you all know, and I'll talk about later in report outs, we've been down a couple officers, we earned a couple officers, we hired a couple officers back. Anytime you do that, you go through a hiring process like that, you have to pay for it, right? So the assistant chief has wisely recommended, and I implemented that we move some of that the 3% that we get into that uniform allowance, a lot of it actually. So we're going from $2,200 or $22,200 that's supplied this year to $26,210. Now, some of that funding is for contractual obligations with our labor union. So they get a uniform allowance cut in the form of a check per contract that the city has agreed to, so that they can buy their own uniform equipment. Some of the things that aren't provided are things like when an officer on a call tears their pants, right? Because they were climbing over a fence, chasing after somebody or apprehending somebody. That comes out of our uniform allowance. And again, all the things I mentioned about new officer hires too. If we scroll down to telephone costs, we reduced that because we needed the money elsewhere. And we think that we're not going to spend $400 extra on telephones this year. We've got a good group rate on our cell phone provider. Scrolling down after that is the we're adding to, looks like I can't read off this.
Yeah, the office equipment.
Office equipment. That has increased. We've identified things that we previously were billing to dispatch. So dispatch is a separate budget. And we were using dispatch funding for things that were primarily law enforcement. So we're doing sort of a switch. And you'll see when I talk about dispatch, there's some benefit to that because dispatch has a little less wiggle room than law enforcement in terms of their overall budget. So we will now start begin to pay things that are law enforcement specific out of the law enforcement budget. So that's why you're going to see sort of a sharp increase in some of these line items. Again, still working within that 3% that we were allotted. We're moving the reduction of office supplies. We certainly haven't used as many office supplies as we have had in years past, and so we did a reevaluation there. You're going to see a reduction as well in police supplies, $2,500. We reduced that. The operating expenses we kept the same. We've reduced the equipment maintenance and repairs for things like our portable breathalyzer tests, radars and things like that. They've been relatively durable, so we don't anticipate needing that extra $250. Same applies for our tech equipment and repair, so we've reduced that too. Again, we're shuffling the money around, right? It's not like we're giving it back or giving it to Jerry, sorry, Jerry, but we're moving the money around within our line. So the annual IT licenses, all of you, I think were here when we talked about our capital budget. And one of the things that I requested in our capital budget was arbitrator licenses, the things that run the software that runs our body camera system, our in-car video system. Our finance director, even though we previously have had this as a capital expense. Our finance director said it's more appropriate for as an operating expense than a capital expense. So that's why he has added the 16,000. So that's removed from the capital request that we all discussed and you all approved for recommendation, and it will be going. Well, we have to talk to the mayor yet. We have our individual meetings next week with the mayor to talk about the capital budget and what budget she will be proposing to the council. But it's highly likely that that capital budget that you all recommended is not gonna be in there for that $16,000. It's likely gonna be in an operating cost. That makes sense? Okay. The vehicle maintenance, that's gone up because I anticipate we're gonna have to hold on to our squad cars longer than we typically prefer. We typically rotate our patrol squads every 5 years. There's a chance that that might be stretched out because, as Jerry referenced, the mayor and the city has a goal to reduce borrowing, which means there are fewer cars that as a police agency, we're able to get every year, new cars that we're able to get every year. And then once the car is out of powertrain warranty, that's when the costs really start to drive up, right? And our wonderfully talented maintenance tech at DPW can only do so much, especially with the newer cars, with the newer technology that require the software updates, et cetera. So we anticipate having to spend a little bit more money on vehicle maintenance. And then the balance of the line items stay the same. Any questions for law enforcement? Sorry.
No, that's cool. Any questions? None online?
Okay.
And then moving on to,
I think you were shortly.
I agree. Quasi record.
to dispatch.
Okay, and here's dispatch, also known as emergency communications. That's sort of a borrowed term. We used to take 911 calls, we no longer do, although they sometimes take emergency calls on the non-emergency line as well. But this is dispatch. If you look at anything below the health insurance line, that's where you'll see professional development. This is gonna be a reduction. We've had some internal assessments on the needs of our dispatchers. We think that $1,000 per dispatcher should suffice. Currently, right now, I will say that we're sort of looking at the end of the year and what training we can provide our dispatchers, because for half of the year, we were without a dispatcher. There was no opportunity, unfortunately, to send dispatchers to specialized trainings. So they haven't tapped into, with the exception of maybe a small webinar or something that we paid for, to any real coursework for their professional development. That's something we're hopeful that now that we have a dispatcher in training, we can be fully staffed, and then towards the end of the year, hopefully there'll be more opportunities than the last few months that we can send our dispatchers to a day or two long training that fits the needs of the city and their professional development. But we think that $5,000 will do the trick for next year. That's $1,000 per person. And what they tend to do amongst themselves is find a really, really good conference. And they agree, this year I'll go, next year you'll go, with no guarantee that the funding is going to be there next year. But there's great teamwork amongst them, and they typically like to sort of barter and do some exchanges there. So that's something they might do as well, and send somebody off to a December conference, knowing next year somebody else will be able to go, for example. So you'll see, so the criminal records checks, that's gonna stay the same. We get billed every time we run somebody's criminal record. And then we don't anticipate that changing. Service contracts, that is our larger MPSIS group. So that's the intergovernmental consortium that we share with now 5 other agencies. It used to be 5 total, but we've recently agreed with the Village of Waunakee, and they reached out and said they were previously on the City of Madison system, LERMS, and former retired detective Zort is so very familiar with, because that was his life back as a court detective. They are switching to our system now. Having used both, I will say that our system is a very, very great system, but it also has the support mechanisms in place. Should you need something, if an IT issue happens, if you need some analytics out of that, we pay for a shared data analyst. and a crime analyst. And he's actually a Monona resident. I won't say where he lives. He's a Monona resident who, if I call, he picks up, not just because we pay for him in his job, but he has vested interest here too, so that's great. So we share a data analyst, which helps us a lot. Those traffic dashboards that I talk about all the time, he created that, right? Public facing traffic dashboards, he created that. Anything I ask for, he helps to address. Madison's LERM's group doesn't have that. And so that's appealing to a lot of the suburban agencies wanting to get on board. We don't want to get so big that our vote now 1 of 6 becomes 1 of 10. We will have less say, and potentially that price might go up. But as of right now, if you've seen, the price is going down, not by much, but it's gone down from 106. Now we anticipate it'll be 105,900. Part of the service contracts also include things with our dispatch center and having to pay for the radio system and the airwaves, et cetera, through Dane County. We are on Madison's radio frequency, that like they own the channel, right? And so we were on their frequency, we have to pay for that, et cetera. So that's what the total amount pays for, with some miscellaneous contracts in between for dispatch. And then our dispatch supplies, again, we reduced that. You'll see the odd number. It just so happens that we were trying to get to our 3%, and so that's why it was reduced by sort of an odd number there. And then a reduction in dispatch equipment. So we had to work within the 3%. We had to identify where we needed that 3% to go as a priority, and the numbers reflect that.
Are we fully staffed in emergency communications right now?
We are fully staffed in emergency communications, yes. Staffed, yes. It's not reflected in sort of dispatch time off or the ability to take training because our dispatcher is in training. So it's 2 persons working at once, a trainee and a dispatcher.
Oh.
But yes, technically we're fully staffed.
Any questions for Chief? Larry, any questions?
No,
All right. And again, this is the first read, so we'll be back into this at the next meeting. Reports, fire department.
Not a lot. Thank you to the council. We have approved the MOU for the involuntary overtime. Slightly held up because of a lean being out of town the last couple of weeks. And they didn't want to forge her signature, so we're waiting till she gets back.
I'm glad you're not working such a signature. That's it all.
You know, especially the city clerk. I mean, full-time staffing wise, the first.
Guy, Chief.
Selective hearing there.
Full-time staffing wise, Natalia will not be leaving until the end of the year. So we'll likely open up a process, an external process, probably in November, for a January hiring. The internal candidate that had already passed our PFC interviews has accepted a job at Baraboo, which is fabulous for her. So we'll do an external process and see what we get. We've got a pretty competitive wage and benefit package now, comparatively to where we were a few years ago. We're sitting pretty good. POP staffing, we opened up our applications August 1st. We leave them open till August 31st. We've changed how we do things. We don't bring on just one on at a time. They tend to get lost in the shuffle. So as of this morning, we've had 21 applicants in the 3 weeks it's been open. 2 of them are Monona residents that are also fully qualified. They're fully certified already.
Great.
Both of them live within about a block of the station. It was fabulous. They'll be doing interviews next week and the week after. So far, they've identified 9 for interviews. We're actually, for the first time in a long time in Dane County or anywhere in this area, in a position to actually have a waiting list.
Great.
So we'll either bring on 4 is the max, I think. If I can squeeze out 2 more bunk spaces, I'll bring on 6, but at least 4. There'll be conditional job offers going out the week of September 14th for our POP members. Our current POP folks have been doing fabulous. I mean, we get a lot of in-station coverage, which is fantastic. So most days we'll have 1, maybe 2 here, daytime, nighttime, we're having extra people here a lot. And how we built the POP program when we consolidated everything last year, again. Despite Assistant Chief Eckloff not being part of it for 6 months, we were still planning on being under budget. We built it to be relatively conservative. And it seems to be fairly attractive with folks that are wanting to come in and volunteer. So I've heard no complaints about the rates or the stipends. So everybody's actually very happy because they can go and get more classes and get a higher stipend out of getting more classes. So we get better service from them. They get a couple more dollars per stipend for every class they finish. It works out very well. Right now, for significant incidents, we're averaging anywhere from 12 to 14 people responding, which is fantastic. Call volume, EMS was in the packet, 9.4% up over last year. When you add in fire, we're just under 12% increase in call volume over last year. It's been busy. Yesterday, we actually had mutual aid calls out to Deerfield, Cottage Grove. We've been in McFarland today. We've been in Madison today. The entire county is busy. So there are lots of mutual aid calls. City's still mutual aiding into us quite a bit as well. But so far we're managing. So last thing we've got a couple of new projects that we're working on. Chief Cheney already knows we got a matching drone for the fire department. So we bought a drone that matches what PD has. For search and rescue, we'll use it for fire training. We'll use it on car accident scenes, structure fires, anything like that. We deliberately matched what PD has because that way if one drone is out or the other's out, we can cross use the pilots that are already trained. Batteries are swappable, parts are swappable. It's an exact duplicate of what PD got. So all of my volunteer officers are going through Part 107 training right now to get their remote pilot license. And then we'll start doing some hands-on training with their already qualified operators in a very big open space with a soft landing field. So
Very expensive drones.
we got lucky. Our drone cost about 60% of what PD's cost. So
Same drone.
Same exact drone. So we saw the deal and we jumped on it, and that wonderful professional development money on the fire side is actually paying for the Part 107 training. It'll pay for them to take their FAA tests. So all of our officers, no matter who has the car at night, the drone will be stationed in car one. During the day, it'll be in my vehicle, but at night, it'll go into car one. So any of our officers that are on the car can operate it. So it'll be a nice resource on the fire side. There's not a lot of fire drones in the county. Sunbury has one, Middleton has one, and that's about it for the fire drones.
Doesn't have one?
Not for the fire side. Police drones, there's quite a few. I think McFarland got one.
There's
several. There's always a mass. Hey, I can respond with my drone. They put out a call for a drone. There's Dane County's got a couple. So there's several. But from the fire side, it will be a resource that the fire departments from our surrounding agencies can actually use as well, if they can call out if they need, especially on search and rescue calls.
Can I just comment on search and rescue and fire and why it's important to have this drone technology? Hitting close to home, when was the walkout from Tulare and found in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
2 years ago at this
Yeah.
point. It was, I don't know, it was winter, it was cold. It was individual in mental distress, had left a behavioral health facility in town. And hadn't been seen for a little bit.
It was not dressed for the weather.
It was nude, actually.
Yeah.
So,
I've tried to be politically correct.
Yeah.
Not dressed for the weather.
so, were it not for a drone flying in the air and some good police work and firework, I mean, it was all hands on deck. We would have had a tragedy. This person was found in a state that was off the beaten path and probably would have been found by kids based on where they were found. The drone technology is very, very useful tool. And the reason it's important for fire to have it, and I appreciate Jerry getting the exact same one, is that we all will train the same, we'll all know how to use the same equipment. But also, I don't know what fire wants, what their drone, what they're looking for in a fire and where to keep spot. I have no clue, and nor do our police officers. So it's great that they have their expertise, we have ours, and then we can share the same technology. Thank you.
I'm assuming they have infrared technology, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're got a thermal imager as well as high definition camera. Beyond the emergency uses of it, the software we use for our call, data entry, it's just upgraded. It's called Visual Pre-Plans. This is something we'll actually be able to map every single building that's a commercial building. Because you can actually upload actual photos. And Google Maps is great most of the time. But especially with some of the bigger buildings that we're getting to be able to, it ties in with our dispatch system. So when we're dispatched to a fire call, it pulls that visual pre-plan up. So we know exactly what building we're going to. We know what the floors look like. So it's going to be useful in many different arenas, including emergency response. So special events as well would be nice to have an additional drone because they burn out quickly. So great. That's all I got.
Any questions for Chief? Brian?
Sorry, for something a little, well, very somber, I reached out I sent a message to the principal on behalf of Jerry and I, to the community at Immaculate Heart based on the tragic, mass shooting in Minneapolis, today, offering support. And whatever we can do as a K through 12 Catholic school kid, this touches me as well as it touches everyone. And so I wanted to make sure that we as a community and your police and fire departments, we were able to show whatever support that community needs. So it's tough every time this happens. We all know that this hits close to home too. And every single time this happens, it's tragic, not only in that community, but in all communities, especially communities that have been impacted. So I'm so sort of frustrated at thoughts and prayers, even though that's important, but I won't get political, but we have to do something. This is beyond enough. So.
Well, Chief, one of the first things I thought about when that happened was the vehicle that we discussed last week and its use in situations like that. So, and I'll mention that in council as well, if necessary.
I appreciate that. We need these tools to keep people safe, and I understand how the optics are important and trust is important. And I as your chief need to do a job of making sure I explain that, and that'll recruit all of your help, council, your help, everyone in this room and virtually your help in helping to relay that message too, because these are tools we need to keep people safe. So you're right.
And just to let the committee know too, when the vehicle came before Personnel and Finance, it was a tied vote. So the mayor broke the tie towards the vehicle. So
it's got to go back to, because it'll be a budget amendment as it turns out, because even though we're utilizing asset forfeiture funds, as you know, to acquire that, it's something that the city has to insure every year. There's fuel costs, et cetera, that potentially the city might have to invest in. So it's got to go back to council for ultimate approval if this vehicle is acquired. So
if the committee is interested in seeing that happen, it would be a good idea to let the council know that you'd like to see that happen.
the mayor's voiced her support, but she cannot vote unless there's a tie. All right, thank you. And just so moving on to sort of updates, National Night Out was great. Jerry and I unfortunately could not be there ourselves for the first time. I was off at a wonderful training. Jerry was off on a wonderful, much needed retreat. But I heard it was well attended. Many of you showed up. The band was great. The climbing wall was back. The food was good, and it was great weather. So we hope to add on that for next year. There were representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office who were there for the first time that asked to show and asked to be a part of it. And they sent me the most amazing compliment because they do this sort of at other communities. And they said it was clear, Chief, the relationship that you have with your community, and they used it's our community. And they said we should be very proud. So I take that as a very high compliment that We're on the right trend. Look, we need to build on that. We need to work on some things, but it's a good sign. So from sort of an outsider, right? They come in. All right. We are a police officer short, so we're running at 20 full-time staff members at the police department on the law enforcement side. We had a strong candidate, and Commissioner Fontaine knows this, who, for all the correct reasons, had to withdraw from the process. I totally respect his decision to do so. We've started a process since then, and several have reached out. We have a lot of members that need the pre-service academy, which is what we're opening it up to now. For those of you who aren't maybe familiar, there's 2 different tracks sort of to get this job. You already went to the law enforcement academy, like you put yourself through a tech school, or you were previously employed with another full-time police department, and you're already a cop or certified as a cop somewhere. That is the most efficient way to get into another department because we don't have to pay for you to get certified. However, that limits your candidate pool, right? And that's what we've seen. We've had great success, right, in doing that and only saying, hey, just certified police officers only. But it also limits our candidate pool. That's in terms of diversity, you name it. It limits the amount of folks we actually get that can apply or are qualified to apply when we limit it that way. So we've opened it up and said both apply, please. And we've already preemptively reserved a seat in the academy in the event we have somebody that needs a full academy that the PFC authorizes me to hire. And we've seen many what I believe are qualified candidates. It's early, so I've only seen sort of a face sheet. We didn't do a deep dive yet. But on their face, really, it's very promising. We've even had several very good, smart, eager candidates that have reached out to do a ride-along and have done ride-alongs, and have expressed to me or the person that they rode along with that they are very much interested. They love the community and the culture here, and they intend to apply as well. So, Commissioner Fontaine, you will likely see something from the PFC president in terms of organizing a PFC meeting in the near future, maybe October, to get that squared away. So,
And I just reinforce what you're saying by we've run a couple other people through the academy. They've been great candidates. Obviously, a lot of times their story is a little bit different
Yep.
from what you're getting through the first traditional track, but I think that's been a good thing.
thank you. I will say this too, kind of piggybacking on that. You know what's cool about Commissioner Fontaine and his colleagues on the PFC is that I have no clue what happens after I leave the room. I just leave the candidate in the room and they like kind of boot me out. And I have, to this day, I do not know what's asked or discussed, and I don't ask them, right? But I think that that's great. It's a process that is sort of taken at in different segments, right? And Mark Zwart has been a part of them as well for our internal review. If any of you ever have any desire to take part in being part of the internal selection process where we actually sit down and interview candidates, we would love your input as well. Not that Mark says we annoy him too much with these requests, but we're happy to share it out, so to speak. We pick days that Mark isn't working or time at his gig with the state, so we're happy to have you a part of that. We would love to. So just wrapping up real quick, our part-time officer who was authorized by the Police and Fire Commission has already been on the streets for protecting and serving all of you. He is a full-time Verona firefighter and now a part-time Monona police officer, comes to us by way of the Madison Police Department. So he left our former agency to be a firefighter.
So he's kind of like the purple Jedi now. Good and bad.
You can't take the cop out of him because he's here. And he's doing exceptionally well.
Great.
And so it's all really great. Our internship program is going really well. We've had an intern every school semester, which is a lot if you think about that, but they really enjoyed the process. I think you heard me brag about it for UW. We are the highest ranked police internship program that they have.
Wow.
High compliments. So I know I'm not paying them to say that. They walk out of here feeling that they have a rewarding educational experience, and most of them have either applied with us or we didn't have an opening, so they couldn't, right? Our current intern has applied with us.
Wow.
So It's great. We have another intern coming in next week. So we welcome her with open arms and hopefully she has a rewarding experience as well. We have a new chaplain, Jerry and I, and you all, your police and fire departments. Our new chaplain comes to us by way of Cottage Grove
Yeah.
or Deer Grove in
Yeah,
essence.
Yeah, he does a couple, yeah.
Does a few. He's great. Pastor Shannon does a really good job. He's also getting his social work or counselor license.
Yeah, he's gonna be a licensed,
Clinical social work.
something.
Yeah,
But on the
There you go.
criminal side,
Thank you, Joel. He does good work as it is with first responders and he's obviously on the ministerial side, is that what you
Yeah.
call it? So he's gonna be providing some faith support as well for our staff that rely on that and request that. So that's great too. Jerry and I just were in email communication with our EAP provider, Healthy Minds, which is a great organization. Actually, our chaplain is practicing
Yeah.
with Healthy Minds right now, doing sessions and getting his license. And we just agreed to continue services with Healthy Minds for next year. So that's a great resource. Our insurance provider, we just learned, offers paid for, as in your insurance company, your city's insurance company will pay for sessions under certain situations for police and fire, and so we're going to be sure to utilize that as well. So all really good stuff. And then lastly, just a thank you and a pitch. A thank you to those of you who continue to support non-levy funded things like the K-9 program, to include both in his private life and his professional life here at Monona. Alder DePula for providing support for things like our K-9 program. He just so happens also to ride a motorcycle, and so that's one of the things that he helps out with and sponsoring and supporting, among other things. But I know many of you, most of you have provided support as well, so thank you for that. That program runs 100% off of donations. The only thing that is provided is the cop you already pay for, right? So everything else comes out of that budget, like many other agencies in Dane County, so we really rely on that. And then a pitch for the K-9 golf outing in September. The date escapes me, but if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see it. It's we're switching venues. It's at the Windsor Golf Course now for this year. And again, that's something that if you like golf, or if you don't like golf, you can sit with me and watch a Packers game. And guard the money. And enjoy. It's great time if you haven't had the opportunity yet. It's interacting with cops and folks that love public safety in a non-work environment. It's kind of cool, right? Just watching them unwind and being relaxed with their family and friends and participating in a very, very charitable and needy cause. So let's see. I think that is it, sir.
Okay, and then police and fire commission?
Yes, we had our meeting to hire the part-time officer at the end of July, and it sounds like we got a couple more meetings coming up.
All right. If there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
And we're
Aye.
adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You.
Hey, Larry. Get better.
Okay,
Yeah, get better, Larry.
yeah, I didn't want to share grandkids' disease with you guys. Good night, folks.